It is now my great honor and pleasure to introduce our 2025 commencement speaker. Reshma Saujani is a change maker and visionary leader whose work has transformed the landscape of technology, education, and gender equity. As the founder of Girls Who Code and the CEO of Moms First, she has dedicated her life to building movements that challenge the status quo and open doors that have long been closed. For more than a decade, she has worked to close the gender gap in the tech sector, to expand economic opportunity for women, and to push for structural supports for parents like affordable childcare and paid family leave. An important chapter of her story began with a bold run for Congress in 2010. Though she didn't win, that experience ignited her mission to teach girls bravery over perfection, a message she has shared in a TED Talk that has had more than 54 million views and her best-selling book, Brave, Not Perfect. Reshma holds degrees from the University of Illinois, Harvard's Kennedy School of Government, and Yale Law School. She continues to lead the national conversations on equity, innovation, and the future of work. She shows us what's possible when we lead with courage to build a more equitable future for everyone. Please join me in welcoming our commencement speaker, Reshma Saujani.
Thank you so much, President Nembhard, deans, faculty, distinguished guests, family and friends, and of course, the graduating class of 2025. I want to start with the most important part. Congratulations, graduates. So I gotta be honest. I had a different speech planned for you today. A speech about embracing failure, the power of innovation, a little riff on building a better future with AI, just to be on brand. Basically, the Harvey Mudd cookie cutter speech. But as this day got closer and the world became a whole lot darker, I couldn't picture it. How could I stand here in front of this class and give you that speech? I decided that you deserved a braver speech. So here it goes. The most important issue facing you isn't just climate or healthcare or AI ethics, it's disconnection. Disconnection across gender, class, race, and even reality itself. And it's this disconnection that is going to prevent you from solving every single problem you came to Harvey Mudd to fix. Let me explain. I started Girls Who Code with the goal of closing the gender gap in tech. And for a while, we were really doing it. We taught over 700,000 women and non-binary students to code, many of whom are in the audience today. The needle was moving. The world was opening up. And now it's starting to close again. Across the nation, DE&I is being dismantled. The word diversity is being erased from research proposals. NASA, our most iconic institution, removed women scientists from public-facing projects and content. Those weren't oversights. They weren't mistakes. They were erasures. And this isn't just a STEM issue. Gender relations in our nation are at an all-time low. And the reason is because we've been sold this con that progress is a zero-sum game. That if women rise, men have to fall. That if people of color get a shot, white people lose theirs. that if someone new enters the room, there's no spot left for you. And we're so distracted, so intentionally divided, that we can't see that we're all losing in this game. But you didn't come to Harvey Mudd to uphold broken systems. You came to challenge them, to solve the problems that no one else wants to touch. And so today, I want to talk to you about how we fix this. But to understand what's at stake, we got to understand where we've been. So let's rewind the clock to 2006, less than 20 years ago. If I was that class's commencement speaker, I'd be looking at an audience that was 70% male, a computer science department that was 80% male. And it wasn't just Harvey Mudd. Across the world, there was this popular narrative that women simply weren't interested in computing. And even if they were, it was too late for them to catch up. So your former president, Maria Qualley, she did something about it. She understood that it didn't make sense that half of the talent pool was being systematically shut out of STEM. Like, how dumb is that? So she and CS faculty took action. They completely redesigned the introductory level CS course and created new research opportunities for women. And you can see the result. Today, half of the graduating class is women and non-binary students. Let's give a round of applause for that, right? That's not a miracle. That's a model that works, a model that's under attack. Let's make no mistake. If Harvey Mudd tried to do today what it did in 2006, you'd be sued. Why? Because some people rather project an illusion of meritocracy than allow us to live in a real one. And the con, it only works if we're divided. Because if we're too busy pointing fingers, we can't see that the game's been rigged all along. And once a system convinces you that it's fair, it doesn't have to change. I know how easy it is to fall for the con, even when the truth is staring right in front of you. I know because I did. A few years ago, I gave a commencement speech at a women's college. It was like my feminist manifesto. I walked off stage and I felt awesome, like Gloria Steinem is quaking. My two little boys, Sean and Cy, ran up to me. And my older one, Sean, he pulls me aside. He said, "Mommy, how come you always talk about the girls, but you never talk about the boys?" At first, I dismissed him. I thought, he's young, he doesn't get it. But it turns out I was the one who didn't get it. For years, I had been talking about how we need to teach girls to be brave, not perfect, but I barely even thought about how we need to teach boys to be soft, not stoic, to connect, not control, to reimagine a version of manhood where strength requires sensitivity, empathy, and care. Because that's how disconnection works. It convinces you that your fight is the only one that matters. And all along, boys needed a lesson in bravery too, because boys are struggling. They're more anxious, they're lonelier, they're less likely to go to college, more likely to die of suicide and overdose. And instead of being handed care, they're being handed division. Not just by the podcast bros, but by a government that is actively stoking the divide. While boys are struggling, the fight for women's equality is far from finished. Last year, the gender pay gap got worse, not better. Women are still facing violence online and offline simply for taking up space. And we are still fighting for autonomy over our own bodies, a basic freedom that never should have been up for debate. And in 2025, if you're transgender or non-binary, you're being targeted by laws and policies that question your right to exist, let alone being given the opportunity to thrive. Nobody wants this. Nobody is winning. When very rich and powerful people want to dismantle pipeline programs that give everyone else a fair shot, you got to ask yourself, why? They've built a world where men and women don't talk to each other, don't see each other, don't trust each other. Disconnection isn't just the consequence, it's the goal. Because if we don't see each other, we won't stand up for each other. And the companies and institutions and universities you're about to join, they're just fine with that. They're kissing the ring, kneeling to the New World Order. AI, algorithms, social media, they're not neutral. They're built on a broken world. They don't just reflect inequality and isolation, they multiply it. So Harvey Mudd, remember where you came from. You are here because progress is not zero-sum. Because the best talent comes from widening the pipeline, not narrowing it. This isn't just a theory. I've built this. I've seen this. I've witnessed it. A few years ago, I spoke at a women in computing group at another college. When I walked in the room, I noticed a few guys standing in the back. I asked them who they were. They said we're the men who support the women in computing group. At first, I thought that they were messing with me. But they were there to offer tangible advice and support to the women. And the Women's Club affirmed this wasn't just a performative one-off. This was a persistent commitment. Because you see, these young men understood it's not that complicated. When women do better, we all do better. But as you know, this problem is bigger than just some he for she allyship. We need real structural change. And that's where all of you come in. So graduates, listen up. I need you to take the values that you've learned here and bring them out into the world. You've all heard that common startup advice: identify an everyday problem and find an innovative solution. The broken state of gender relations is the everyday problem that needs your attention. You are designers, builders, coders, engineers. You will create companies, policies, platforms. Build them for all of us. Build them with integrity. And if what you're building brings more people in, keep going. But if what you're building makes you angrier, smaller, more divided, start over. Class of 2025, the story that you've been told that power is a pie and you gotta fight for your slice, that's a lie. They got you so busy fighting a gender war to keep you from fighting a class war. Remember this, and I want you to say it with me. Opportunity is not zero-sum. Say it. Progress is not zero-sum. Empathy is not zero-sum. That's right. Real power comes from connection. When we commit to one another's success, we don't just survive, we soar. Build a world where everyone rises. Build a world that looks like Harvey Mudd, where gender isn't a battleground, but a force for building something better, where the best solutions don't divide and dominate, they unite. You have the tools. You have the values. And I know you have the courage. And now, you got your moment. So, let's go. God bless you. Thank you, Harvey Mudd.